A very good evening and a warm welcome to our second edition of UBC News tonight on this 29th day of July 2022. I'm Lauryn Masika Kazimoto. Now, before we delve into tonight's news bulletin, let's first take a look at the top stories of the night. And in our top stories tonight, the three-day Inter-Ministerial Conference on Migration, Environment and Climate Change ends here in Kampala. Captain Mike Mukula speaks out on power struggles during the Soroti by-elections. New Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Norbert Mao, officially receives office. Uganda boxing Captain Joshua through to round of 16 at the Commonwealth Games. Good evening once again and welcome to our second edition of UBC News Tonight. I'm Lauryn Masika Kazimoto. Now we start off with our first headlining story this evening. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has said Uganda is committed to ensuring sustainable use of the environment and the natural resources, saying these are at the core of sustainable development and critical for social economic development and transformation, healthy ecosystems and human survival. He was addressing the Interministerial Conference on Migration, Environment and Climate Change under the theme Enhancing Cooperation in relation to climate change-induced human mobility, including migration, displacement and planned relocation.
Officiating at the closure of the three-day Interministerial Conference on Migration, Environment and Climate Change in Kampala, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni noted that the issues concerning migration, environment and climate change are not new to Uganda. He said majority of Ugandans are vulnerable, with limited capacity to adapt to the new impacts of climate change and have continued to experience increased frequency and intensity of floods, drought and landslides associated with the impacts of climate change.
In 2010, we had to relocate and resettle about 3,000 people from Mount Elgon sub-region, Bududa district in eastern Uganda, Kiryandongo district in western Uganda, after their home villages were devastated by the landslides on March 1st, 2010.
According to President Museveni, Africa particularly is susceptible to climate change impacts, causing loss of lives and livelihoods. He said East Africa and the countries under IGAD rely heavily on natural resources that must be protected at all times.
The changing climate and weather conditions are putting our economies, our communities, agriculture, health, water supply, hydropower production, road infrastructure, and housing at more risk and making us more vulnerable. We cannot afford to take no action.
He reaffirmed commitment of African countries to the realization of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and Africa Agenda 2063.
No country can address the challenge of climate change alone. We must work together to increase adaptive capacities while minimizing the negative impacts of climate-related displacements and involuntary migration.
President Museveni rallied delegates to protect wetlands and plant more trees in their respective countries as a measure to cushion against environmental catastrophes. He added that wetlands, forests and open water bodies in Uganda contribute 40% of the rain the country receives, while 60% of the rain comes from the oceans.
But here, what they call swamps are actually tributaries of the River Nile. So when you grow rice in the swamp, you are committing a very big crime. And this is us, it's not the Europeans. This must stop. Therefore, by interfering with the forest, interfering with the wetlands, we ourselves are destroying 40% of the rainfall of this area. So the countries of the Great Lakes, you really need all to watch. In Uganda here, I'm having war to make sure that nobody cultivates in the wetland.
His Excellency Salva Kiir Mayardit, the President of South Sudan, who also addressed the conference, spoke highly of measures on climate adaptation and called upon countries to devote more resources towards climate change financing.
Despite the urgency of climate change, we are yet to receive 100 billion United States dollars pledged by the developed world to the developing world in 2020. Big polluters in the world must live up to their commitments and avail the resources.
The 3-day interministerial conference also saw heads of ministerial delegations signing and adopting the Kampala Declaration on Migration, Environment and Climate Change. It attracted high-level representatives from countries that included Burundi, Djibouti, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Egypt, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Kenya and Rwanda. Others were Senegal, Somalia, South Sudan, Sudan, United Republic of Tanzania, and the hosts Uganda. Bernard Yiga and Dorcas Kimono, UBC News.
For the first time in 3 years, the East African Community Heads of State met physically for the 22nd Ordinary Summit for the East Africa Community Heads of State. At the summit in Arusha, Tanzania, there was a consensus by the leaders that the common market was the best way to increase intra-regional trade and spur economic growth. Take a look.
The 22nd Ordinary Summit for the EAC Heads of State that recently concluded in Arusha, Tanzania, was centered on continued cooperation, particularly to boost trade and tackling non-tariff barriers.
It was disappointing to learn that on issues of trade, we are only at 15%. The partner states are only trading at 15% with one another. Most of the trade is actually with Europe. So we made a resolution that within the next 5 years, we should increase our own trade, intra-state trade, to at least 50%.
Concerns were raised over Tanzania's extremely high international phone call rates and an appeal made to the relevant authorities to harmonize with other countries in order to ease communication.
The United Republic of Tanzania is very difficult to call. We have what we call the one area network, but they have not joined it. Consequently, if you are within Tanzania, you are charged for receiving, charged for calling. You really, actually, when we go there, we're almost off air. The cost is very, very high. So we also urge the Tanzanians to ensure that they join the one area network so that we can be able to communicate.
According to Uganda's first Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for EAC Affairs, Rebecca Kadaga, the EAC leaders saluted the outgoing Kenyan President, Uhuru Kenyatta, for his exemplary stewardship as chair of the community in the last 1 year.
We also discussed the Nairobi process, and the summit took a decision that President Uhuru Kenyatta should continue as a facilitator for the Congo process, and he was appointed under the Protocol on Peace and Security of the East African Community to continue that job even after he leaves office, and also it was agreed that a fund be set up to support his work of a facilitator.
Attending the summit as a guest of the summit, Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud made an appeal to the EAC heads of state to have his country admitted to the bloc.
Somalia applied more than 30 years ago to join the community, but somehow after the community broke up, the campaign lost steam.
This follows over 3 decades of an unsuccessful application process. Mario Nawori and Dennis Sigowa, UBC News.
Now, had it not been for internal wrangles, the national resistance movement would have probably performed better in the just concluded Soroti East by-elections. NRM National Vice Chairperson for Eastern Uganda, Captain Mike Mukula, accuses some national leaders of masterminding contradictions that nearly cost the party victory in Soroti East. He was addressing the media at his residence in Soroti City on the by-elections that saw NRM's Herbert Ariko emerge victorious against FDC's Moses Satan.
At the peak of the campaigns for the Soroti East parliamentary by-elections, information about internal NRM party friction surfaced on social media. Every accused and counter-accused persons remained tight-lipped over the matter. It is after successfully having these elections that NRM's vice chairperson for Eastern Uganda, Captain Mike Mukula, has broken the silence.
And I want to say, without mincing my words, that I noted that even during this time, my sister, the Vice President, Her Excellency retired Major Jessica Lupo, was working in isolation, in silos, camped in another area, avoided getting in contact with the Secretary General, not getting in touch with the chairman of the region, not even one call, not getting in touch with the chairman of the city where the activity is taking place. She was sometimes working even with opposition.
Mukula expresses worry over a possibility of such contradictions weakening the party, describing it as a political embarrassment.
The ministers were divided. She has caused such internal contradictions in the Teso sub-region that you now have ministers who are loyal to her and others are loyal to another camp. You have members of parliament who are working with her and others who are not working for her. This is very unfortunate. You don't do this. This is not the way the party works.
This concern follows what Mukula describes as the importation of Sanjay Tana into Soroti politics, which he says was not necessary.
Sometimes you find that they brought somebody else. They brought, for me that doesn't matter. Bring in people to say that they are going to organize the campaigns in the city. What are you talking about? You bring Sanjay Tana from Tororo. You bring him here to reorganize the campaign. What are these people doing here? You have to import somebody from far away and say that the people of Teso do not have the capacity.
Mukula was flanked by former Soroti District LC5 chairperson Michael Egonyu and the just elected member of parliament for Soroti East, Herbert Ariko.
I like what somebody said. In NRM, there are bad people. And there are also good people. In FDC, it's the same. They normally tell me on this, and there are only two things. You're either fat or tall.
It is not in my style to be engaged in a divisive activity. No, I will not do that. I respect everybody in their various capacities. I respect every senior person to me.
Ariko may have emerged victorious, but the election may have left the party in the area partly divided, which calls for mechanisms to restore unity. Henry Okrut, UBC.
Minister for Justice and Constitution Affairs Norbert Mao has promised to not stop his criticisms towards the government on the issues pertaining Ugandans in his new appointment. Mao communicated this during the handover ceremony of this office from a former acting Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Wilson Mululi Mukasa. The function was held at the head offices of Justice and Constitutional Affairs Ministry in Kampala.
All the instruments of office.
Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs Norbert Mao has officially received instruments of office
Former Acting Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs Wilson Lauryn Masika handed over the office to incoming Minister Norbert Mao at the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs headquarters here in Kampala.
And God before us, God behind us, God in our sides, we should be able to move forward.
During the handover, Minister Wilson Lauryn Masika highlighted on the workload that awaits Minister Norbert Mao.
Determining, formulating and implementing policy and programs of government, as well as supervising all the institutions affiliated to the ministry. Improvement in the corruption perception and democratic indices. Increased case disposal rate. We need to establish the Constitutional Review Commission. This is a key issue, and it is something that is anticipated by everybody.
Minister Mao applauded President Museveni for having given him a chance to play his role in the development of Uganda.
What we are doing is not a substitute for government. It's like a scaffolding. But if my good ideas that are in this document are not treated, I believe that that will not be the case. We will bring many of the issues that we have been quarreling about to the table.
Mao, however, added that his position will not deter him from positively criticizing the government.
I remain a leader of an opposition party, and perhaps occasionally you will hear me saying things which will make you cringe. There will not be many, it will not be daily, because I want my energy to be focused on the work that I've been given now.
Robert Kasande, the Permanent Secretary Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, decried the challenges still faced by the ministry.
Backlog of cases in our courts. As you know, the judiciary has improved its funding, and therefore they are opening up courts all over the country. They have hired more judges. This calls for equally the office of the DPP and the attorneys in this ministry to be facilitated, to increase the numbers so that we can match what the judiciary is doing.
Honorable Norbert Mao, I want to pledge loyalty that we shall work with you. We work as a team, we work as a unit here, all departments. Each one is interlinked and connected to the other.
Also present at the handover was Emeritus Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Professor Ephraim Kamonto.
And indeed you mentioned that sectarianism has been a cancer in our political system. Patriotism, feeling in Uganda, in Africa country, the feeling of oneness.
Witnessing the ceremony were Minister of State for Primary Health Care Margaret Mohanga, the Director of Public Prosecutions Jane Francis Abodo,
Government has pledged to invest in building capacity of statisticians and population scientists, research and innovation in universities because they spur economic development, while launching a book named Academics, Research and Leadership under Makerere University Book Project. The Minister for ICT and National Guidance, Dr. Chris Bariomonsi, expressed the need to interrogate scholars and academicians in helping government make evidence-based decisions.
Makerere University School of Statistics and Planning has published a book on academics, research and leadership that targets policymakers, students and leaders of higher institutions of learning. The publication aims at addressing gaps on the way leadership affects academics and research. According to authors, there are a number of books written on other subjects, but not on academics, research and leadership.
Most especially for the leaders of institutions of higher learning, as well as the students, because the students can find a number of citable materials which they can use to write their literature review and also their thesis.
This particular publication involves information on how the School of Statistics and Planning evolved in terms of infrastructure, teaching and learning, and how relevant the research being conducted is at the ranking of the university.
It was data-driven, so data was collected the processes of collecting data, the processes of doing research, all that has been shown in this book. Very consistent, because every chapter has an abstract, it has an introduction, it states the problem, it states the methods being used.
While launching the book, the Minister for ICT and National Guidance, Dr. Chris Bariomosi, said universities play an important role in socio-economic transformation, hence the need for government to collaborate with them for mutual benefit.
Capacity continues to be built in this country, and we still need to build more capacity and produce more statisticians, more demographers, more population scientists. And therefore, as government, we shall extend full support. We need to invest more and support universities and enable them to carry out research, carry out innovations, because this research, the innovations which will inspire economic development.
Minister Bariomosi also advised students to stick to academic excellency and desist from indecent politicking that leads to running battles with police and throwing tear gas in them. I'm Navka Farida and Abdunasil Wema in Makerere.
The Permanent Secretary to the Public Service Commission, Dr. John Geoffrey Mbabazi, has expressed the need to increase the Commission's budget to enable service delivery to Ugandans. This was during the closure of a two-day induction of the Public Service Commission members at a workshop held in Kampala.
After taking their oath of office on Tuesday this week, the 9 members of the Public Service Commission have gone through a two-day induction that aims at acknowledging them and reminding them of their duties and roles in their respective offices. The members were inducted on aspects of integrity, diligence and competence, among others, in execution of their work.
But at the same time, we took them through how we do interviews, how we do advertising, so that they are aware about the processes at the Commission and therefore the need for them to read.
But be mindful of what? Of allegations and accusations. But you must find a way. That's why I'm saying, since for you they vetted you, why isn't it possible to vet other people? You must find a mechanism. Much as the performance management tool has failed, because without verifying somebody's behavior, the CBR system will never work in government. It cannot work.
Permanent Secretary to the Commission, Dr. John Geoffrey Mbabazi, called for government intervention in addressing challenges that hinder the Commission from executing its work.
For a number of years, we have been asking the Ministry of Finance to give us money to buy land and build our own offices, and which has not been the case. And because of these cramped offices, and because we have so many numbers of people applying for jobs, there is a tendency for corruption. But the Commission, 2-3 years ago, put in place the e-recruitment system. Is inadequate finances, which does not allow them to do all the work they are supposed to do. Another challenge are the many districts service commissions and the many ministries for which this commission is responsible.
Mbabazi also promised Ugandans more service delivery from the Commission following the appointment of the new members.
We call upon them because the Ugandans are expecting that these members will deliver to the expectation of the country, because we hold these offices in trust. They have been appointed by the President on behalf of the government and on behalf of the people of Uganda. And therefore, if you have any issues, if you are not satisfied, you complain in writing to the Secretary, you will be answered. If you think you're scored highly, then you'll be answered. And if we have made a mistake, we have left you out in shortlisting, when you qualify, we shall call you for these interviews.
Natanga Rebecca, Namamonde Deborah, UBC News.
Accounting officers in Zombo district are in the spotlight of a disappearance of funds meant for payment of local councils ex gratia in the last 3 financial years. We have more in this report.
Government of Uganda pays a monthly fee of 10,000 to each village chairpersons as a recognition for their work. The money is paid once in every financial year. However, in Zombo district, hundreds of village chairpersons in Abanga sub-county have not yet been paid for the last 3 financial years without a clear reason.
I don't know, maybe Chief? Is Chief here? Have you paid your people already? Expression?
The accounting officers who failed to account for the funds asked for more time to pave a way for investigations into the whereabouts of the monies.
2017, 18, 2018, 19, 20, 19, 20. I can't explain. I don't know exactly what happened because I was not there. Even my cow, the current cow, was not there. So these are 3 years ago. I have to do a bit of fact finding to see what happened. We were not there, sincerely. I cannot. I even tried to inquire from the chairman if he has any knowledge. He has no knowledge what happened.
The other controversy here surrounds unpaid COVID-19 allowances for health workers who were at the front line.
Yeah, it's true. They were not paid. But 2 days ago, I think on Monday, we received all this money to pay them. We received a total of 90,670,000. So we are going to pay as soon as possible.
This was a local accountability meeting dubbed Baraza, held by the Office of the Prime Minister in Abang Sub-County, presided over by the Minister of State for Northern Uganda, Grace Quinchwing.
And in these Baraza meetings, it is important to inform the communities the relevance of government, the activities of government, so that they are in the know and they can monitor, they can question for accountability purposes, but also for ownership. This is a program which I praise the NRM government for, because it has never been there before.
The participants were lauded for embracing the Baraza, saying it will help technical team rectify their mistakes for good service delivery.
This is a very good experience. I believe it will be it will be a Baraza that will help us in correcting certain areas that has not been handled very well. So we thank you for organizing this as an office of the Prime Minister.
Joseph Oko, UBC.
Thank you, Joseph Oko. Now, farmers and pastoralists in the 7 semi-desert districts of Midwestern region of Uganda have attended a day's sensitization training on fundamental and basic farming methodologies to provide avenues in challenging moments like long drought season spells to avoid food scarcity and famine. The training was organized by the patron Miracle Center Cathedral Churches, Pastor Robert Kayanja, at his Gold Meadow farm located in Chiriandongo district.
Malnutrition and food insecurity have become a pressing factor in Uganda, with the Karamoja district located in the northeastern region being the most hit. Despite the population being mainly rural, with livelihoods based on livestock and crop production, the region registers the highest food insecurity and malnutrition levels due to a number of factors that include inadequate food access, structural poverty, inconsistent weather and climate change, among others. It is against this backdrop that citizens have initiated campaigns to sensitize farmers and pastoralists in other semi-arid areas to apply better farming methodologies like irrigation and getting better breeds for their cattle that can sustain harsh environment in order to avoid the consequences of food insecurity.
Farm wetusobola okuyigira hali tukusobola kwegera ate wetusobola n'okufuna obuyambi, and where we can come and get some skills and help. Kyenvudde ngamba nga district, that is why I said as a district, when we give you one.
The patron Miracle Center Cathedral Church's Pastor Robert Kayanja has taken on this mantle and reassures the public of his commitment towards tackling issues related to climate change.
Discussion today is food and water. With the global warming, with the disaster in Karamoja and northern part of Uganda, there's no doubt about it. This farm has got everything. We are in the same climate, so we decided to bring the pastors here not only to pray, but to teach them on wealth creation, to teach them on what they can do through agriculture. The problem is Ugandans are either proud or we are slow in talking about our problems. The problem in Karamoja will not have exacerbated to that level, where people have lost their lives, babies are being buried, people survived COVID, people survived everything.
Some of the day's trainees commended the organizer and are ready to use the skills acquired to develop their communities and curb food insecurity.
I can tell you that this means that we need to wake up, because there are a lot of things. I know that the government is just going to give you a light, but not going to grant you everything.
You as a leader, you're supposed to be responsible for your family and make sure at least your family has come out as a family which is known in the whole district. Then you need to have food. So those three things. After that one is said, then finances will have to follow you.
Pastor Kayanja Saturday will join government and other organizations to donate assorted food items to Karamoja residents. I'm Ivan Juko for UBC News.
UBC News Tonight takes a very short break, but we still have more stories loaded up for you. We'll be right back after these messages.
Ni MTN Kabode Super as you pay mpola for this smartphone. Make calls, update your WhatsApp status, watch YouTube, and Google anything under the sun with 2 GB worth of data every month for 7 months. Simply make a small deposit of 99k and pay the balance mpola. You can pay in daily, weekly, or even monthly installments while you enjoy your new phone. So what are you doing today? Visit any MTN shop near you and get the MTN Kabode Super easy.
Are you a player in the tourism sector with a struggling business following the COVID pandemic? UDB, in partnership with European Union, is providing financial assistance to businesses operating in the tourism sector. You can access subsidized loan with grants, loan with a tenure of up to 5 years, free business advisory services, and free environmental impact assessment. Visit www.udbl.co.ug/call for applications to apply. Deadline for submission is 31st October 2022 at 5 p.m. For more information, please call 0414 355 509.
A World Cup in the desert? The first one in the Middle East. The first to be held at the end of the year? That's crazy. Get ready for spectacular moves, high-flying saves, unbelievable goals, out-of-this-world celebrations.
Would you believe it? What a moment here!
All 64 matches live. That's over 5,000 action-packed minutes of the FIFA 2022 World Cup Qatar. Now that's crazy. Catch all the action only on SuperSport, your world of champions. On Gold TV. Love it.
It's Freaky Friday from Airtel. Buy or gift. Buy or give.
Get freaky too! Dial *149*10# to load a Freaky Friday bundle for you to enjoy the best offers on voice and data.
To buy a bundle for friends and family, dial *149*10*5#. Freaky Friday with Airtel. Buy or gift a bundle today. Dial *149*10# to get started. Airtel, the smartphone network.
A good school doesn't tolerate violence against children.
Because a good school equals a better life.
Raising voices.
Welcome back from the break, and we're glad that you're still with us this evening. Now, in more news making headlines, now matters of course related to health. The Infectious Diseases Institute, IDI, recommends that the population needs to be sensitized more to encourage people to go for COVID-19 vaccination. Now, this has arrived due to the increasing misconception on the vaccines. Now, as Ivan Kahwa reports, IDI has released a report regarding COVID-19 vaccination among people living with HIV.
A research conducted by Infectious Disease Institute on the misconceptions regarding COVID-19 vaccination among people living with HIV from January to April 2022 reveals that the target population for vaccination was not willing to get vaccinated. This is because COVID-19 cases had reduced and people believed that the disease is no longer a threat.
Even if the HIV infected people trusted us, the health workers, it was also evident that as the health workers lacked some of the basic COVID-related information, which would make us speak with authority and actually persuade and answer questions of the HIV-infected people when they ask.
The report further reveals that there was passive adherence to vaccination due to fear of being denied services.
If you don't continuously encourage them to be vaccinated, they may not be vaccinated.
Whereas vaccines are safe for persons living with HIV, some delays in administering vaccines at health centers discouraged people from taking their jabs.
So if somebody is a passive acceptor, he may not have the resilience to wait. It not opposed to an active acceptor. An active adherent, somebody who's actively is looking, so he's willing to actually spend as much more time as possible because but if somebody, for example, is a passive, he's likely to actually lose patience and then move on.
There were also misconceptions of libido loss, abortion and infertility in the areas of Chitebi, Chiswa, Chisenyi, Komamboga and Kasangati where the research was conducted.
People say their bodies are weak. We don't yet know how vaccine will react with HIV and ART. Some of us are still taking our time, scared because we have heard of people dying after vaccination.
The findings from 767 persons living with HIV also showed that a large population believed that vaccination was beneficial.
72% of them were willing to be vaccinated. So they hadn't been vaccinated, but they were willing to be vaccinated, which is again an opportunity for the program.
HIV patients are most prone to suffer severe infections of COVID-19 if unable to access vaccines that help minimize severe attacks of COVID-19. Infectious Disease Institute recommends that health workers equip themselves with enough information about the vaccines in order to build confidence and interest the population to get vaccinated. Ivan Kahwa, UBC News in Kampala.
A section of refugees in the Democratic Republic of Congo have accused their area members of parliament in eastern DRC for allegedly participating in fueling the prevailing war there for their selfish interests. Now, in an interview UBC TV had with some refugees at their camp in Mukibaya, Uganda, and DRC borderline in Nyarubuye sub-county, they allege that some MPs from Kinshasa Parliament are fueling division among the people. Take a look.
The MPs who are speaking Kinyarwanda, they are the ones who are behind this war.
Innocent Mureka Mbanze at Charity Busimbe Institute is one of the refugees in one of the camps at Mukibaya, Uganda and DRC borderline in Nyarubuye sub-county. He alleges that some MPs from Kinshasa Parliament are behind a division that culminated into war in the eastern DRC.
People who are speaking Kinyarwanda, and those people who are speaking Kinyarwanda, they are suffering. While we are suffering, the MPs are speaking in Kinshasa that they want to protect us because the government of Kinshasa did not recognize us like Congolese.
Just like other refugees, he says that they have decided to stay at the borderline for security reasons. One of the local government leaders says some shots in the DRC government are partly responsible for the war in the eastern DRC, which has partly been caused by tribalism.
Their intention is to divide Congo, to share Congo into two parts, so that they can lead the east part, and the west part can stay to the Lingala people.
LC chairperson Kisoro District, Abel Bizimana, says the issue of ethnicity in Great Africa will never end by guns, but only through dialogue. The LC chairperson Kisoro District, Abel Bizimana, says the issue of ethnicity in Africa will never end by guns, but through dialogue.
The Ministry of Education and Sports has advised all education institutions to use both co-curricular activities together with the normal learning programs to impart knowledge to the learners. Assistant Commissioner Pre-Primary Education Elizabeth Mbatude noted that co-curricular activities help children grasp quickly and effectively. We have the details.
This 6-acre piece of land was bought by the community of Baroganda Parish to support learning of their children. This was done through a contribution of 10,000 shillings by every household with the intention of securing a playground for co-curricular activities. The project of building the center was then enhanced by Plan Uganda. Bosco Gwale, lead caregiver at this center, says the incorporation of co-curricular activities into the ordinary learning has not only improved learning but also increased the enrollment.
And this project is also helping us a lot because it has increased for us more knowledge on how learning through play help. And we have also the playground being constructed by playful features.
And what is unique in this project, we are focusing on locally available materials that are easy to get. You can skip the rope while counting, like that. That is how it is done. It is not, play is not separate from teaching, they are together.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, we go.
The Ministry of Education and Sports, in partnership with the Plan Uganda, funded by Lego Foundation, is implementing a Playful Futures project. This is meant to enhance learning and skills development of over 60,000 children between the ages of 3 to 6 as a quality early childhood care and education. During a support monitoring of these centers in Lira, the Assistant Commissioner Pre-Primary Education Elizabeth Batude urged all caregivers in the country to embrace co-curricular activities to improve learning outcomes.
We as technocrats, we found out that through play, a child learns very quickly, be integrated in the real learning, easier than being theoretical. We are only urging the parents to get to understand this approach because it is the best for that level.
And when you use the play as a method of teaching, they tend to learn more, remember more, and other competencies, life competencies.
The community of Baroganda Parish appealed to government to increase the number of primary schools for children at parish levels for easy access to education. Eddie Olua, UBC News.
Now, government of Uganda and stakeholders have embarked on a journey to strengthen the health supply chain through digitalization of the health sector as a way of transforming the public sector service delivery through e-government service. The focus on digital transformation in the health sector was re-echoed as the sector wraps up the Health Supply Chain Week.
As a way to implement the 10-year national health supply chain, the Ministry of Health, together with partners, have highlighted the strategy and role of using the available technological tools in the health sector to improve the health supply chain system.
The aim of digitalizing the health supply chain in Uganda is to ensure that we see visibility of commodities right from the warehouse up to the patient. There is going to be transparency of medicines. We can see from the system that this medicine has been dispensed to the patient, and we can tell which patient has taken the medicine.
According to partners, digitizing the sector will not only improve the performance of the health supply chain system, but also ensure effective leadership, governance, and management.
We'd like to see how, in the next 10 years, the government of Uganda, through different entities, the ministries, departments, and agents, incrementally own the management and financing of our health commodities with a reduction of the donor support.
The National Medical Stores is beginning to refuse any orders which are not made through the electronic systems. The biggest problem now we have, of course, is to have a change management process to get everyone to appreciate that time has come when technology will do the work for us and with us.
Tony Bosa, the manager government application NITA Uganda, believes the current electronic connection in different hospitals will ease and boost delivery of medical supplies across the country.
All medical supplies, the whole entire process is automated end to end, from making a request by the health center to the delivery of the actual medicine. They usually provide basic computing devices like laptops and smartphones to facilitate at least the basic operations to get started as we mobilize more resources to give them.
Digitalization of the health sector seeks to create rapid response and visibility towards effective supply chain management and eliminate hindrances in the health supply chain, hence the smooth running of the health sector. Joshua Kagoro, UBC News.
Ni MTN Kabode Super as you pay mpola for this smartphone. Make calls, update your WhatsApp status, watch YouTube, and Google anything under the sun with 2 GB worth of data every month for 7 months. Simply make a small deposit of 99k and pay the balance mpola. You can pay in daily, weekly, or even monthly installments while you enjoy your new phone. So what are you doing today? Visit any MTN shop near you and get the MTN Kabode Super easy.
Are you a player in the tourism sector with a struggling business following the COVID pandemic? UDB, in partnership with European Union, is providing financial assistance to businesses operating in the tourism sector. You can access subsidized loan with grants, loan with a tenor of up to 5 years, free business advisory services, and free environmental impact assessment. Visit www.udbl.co.ug/call for applications to apply. Deadline for submission is 31st October 2022 at 5 p.m. For more information, please call 0414 355 509.
It's Freaky Friday from Airtel. Buy or gift. Buy or give.
Get freaky too! Dial *149*10# to load a Freaky Friday bundle for you to enjoy the best offers on voice and data.
To buy a bundle for friends and family, dial *149*10*5#. Freaky Friday with Airtel. Buy or gift a bundle today. Dial *149*10# to get started. Airtel, the smartphone network.
I remember the lockdown, when the streets were empty and our lives disrupted, when businesses closed and our livelihoods hung in the balance. Hospitals were full. We lost loved ones, jobs, and hope. Our children couldn't study anymore. We cannot let this happen again. We should not go back. Get fully vaccinated against COVID-19 and join the millions of Ugandans who are already vaccinated.
Welcome back, and now into the world of business. I&M Burbage Capital, a leading corporate finance advisory firm in East Africa, has hosted a cross-section of Uganda's high net worth individuals to draw awareness to better financial services that will set trend for financial institutions during post-COVID recovery. Now, in 2016, I&M Group, a public limited company, acquired 65% shareholding in Burbage Capital Group. Following this acquisition, Burbage Capital was renamed I&M Burbage Capital. I&M Burbage Capital specializes in advising businesses in the region on significant capital raising through IPOs, private equity mergers, and acquisition and debt transactions.
Financial sector right now is in a difficult situation where we see an increase in interest rates. That means that the cost of borrowing money is rising, and at the same time we also see a depreciation of the Uganda shilling against the major currencies. And what that literally means is that any imports that come into the country are becoming more and more expensive. And the combination of an increase in interest rates and a depreciation of the Uganda shilling lead to an increase in cost of goods.
Kenya, of course, is the biggest. As you'd maybe expect, more deals happen in Kenya than other countries in East Africa. But about 20% of our transactions are in Uganda. Okay, and then other countries, Tanzania, Rwanda, Ethiopia, it's a smaller amount. So what that translates to in real numbers is we're advising about 6 Ugandan businesses at the moment on either selling or raising capital for their businesses, and it's increasing all the time. Because we're part of a banking group that's growing, that also means it's naturally our market share is increasing, but also I think there's certainly increasing interest, put it that way, from buyers and investors into Ugandan businesses. And so if Ugandans do want to sell, or they want to bring on board an international investor into their business, they're increasingly able to do so. The appetite is higher, which is exciting, for all of us. The question is whether Ugandan shareholders really want to sell their businesses or not,
Together with the financial advisors, together with the financial institutions, how can we think of solutions that can help manufacturers, for instance, to ensure that they get in their raw materials at better prices, to get in raw materials at better credit terms?
And now into sports. After a glamorous opening ceremony at the Grandeur Alexander Stadium last night, the 2022 Commonwealth Games have witnessed action in several disciplines. Uganda was in action across the field and has registered positive news. Take a look.
After a night of a high-quality opening ceremony at the Alexander Stadium in Birmingham, the 2022 Commonwealth Games are officially underway. Day 1 for Uganda has registered a positive result, and this from national boxing team captain, light welterweight Joshua Tokamuhebwa. This young Ugandan not only beat Northern Ireland's John Dale Paul by a judge's decision, but won hearts in doing so to catapult him into the round of 16 and also topping Africa.
Ekigendererwa kyange eri bannayuganda abannayuganda tuvuddeyo nga batubanja era nga ekyo nakiteeka mu mind yange era nga kyensobola obagamba tetugenda disappointing, at least emidaali girina okuvaayo kuba n'abaana 6 bazze. We expect like 3 or 4 medals from them. Round esooka yagiridde kuba mbadde sinaba kubeera mu pesi yemu naye nga sinaba musoma bulungi, naye mu round ey'okubiri nkomyewo nga mu studies nga nvuddemu empewo kwekusobola okumukonkaringa second ne third round kyovola mbadde omuwanguzi owala leero.
While Tokamuhebwa can celebrate, table tennis youngsters Florence Sela, Pavin Nangonzi and Jemima Nakawala started on a wrong foot. Uganda lost 3-0 to Canada, but players and officials are optimistic results will come, especially with Wales and Vanuatu still to come in the group.
My opponent was so fast and I was slow, which I'll go back and practice more, better than that.
A lesson to learn, you know, improving skills zange, nenzitereza.
You know, the match goes 11-9, 11-8. It means it is close. And that means that the skill levels are not very different from each other. But of course, what I can see is that the Canadian players have been more on table. And these are some of the things we have been talking about. If you have a team of people who have been playing for 1 year, they are on table non-stop. They are in a training camp for 1 year. And then for you are in a training camp for only 1 month. I mean, you can see the difference on table.
In badminton, Uganda is in the same group as the Maldives, Scotland and Canada that they have started with. In the first mixed doubles game, Daniel Wanagali and Fajila Shamika lost 2-0, 21-13 and 21-5 to Lidman Tile and Josephine Wu.
The game was tight. We played against Canada, the favorites, but we tried our best and we managed to get some points. Though we have like singles going on, but we hope to perform better.
There was also action in rugby, in which Uganda lost to Kenya 27-14. In swimming, Husna Kukundakwe finished her S9 100 meters heat in 9th, but has been put on reserve and can make the final in the event that any of the other finalists isn't available. Still to come later tonight is squash. And after that, our focus will be on the national netball team, the She Cranes, that play New Zealand on Saturday. John Barnes Sentamo reporting.
Well, John Barnes Sentamu is in Birmingham and will be giving us more updates on the Commonwealth Games. And of course, well, we do wish Team Uganda the very, very best. Now, in more in our sports news, police in North Choga has issued a statement banning the sale of alcohol in stadiums during the Fufa Drum Games. Now, this statement was made ahead of the first game in the region, where Lango Province is expected to host Ankole at Akibua Memorial Stadium. Take a look.
While issuing a statement on their preparedness to maintain law and order as their core mandate, police in North Kyoga has banned selling of alcohol at Fufa Drum playgrounds.
We have also been guided that there are things that Fufa does not want within the stadium, like issue of selling alcohol, moving with some weapons like sticks. These are things we don't expect to see a spectator or a supporter coming with it in the stadium.
This statement has, however, raised concern since Nile Breweries is the official sponsor of this year's tournament. Vien Nobote, the media executive officer Lao Province, says they will adhere to FOFA regulations.
You can't deny the selling of goods and services in a field of play, but definitely not inside. You know, there's a particular demarcation of where football is played, but the stadium is always large enough to contain certain other things. We are giving positions for people to erect their stalls and to do whatever business they can.
Former Cranes captain David Obua, who returned as the head coach for Lion Province, believes his side is well positioned to demolish Ankole Province on Saturday.
It's a new concept. You know, whenever you have a new concept, it's not easy to grasp. It's very difficult to grasp. Why? Because my approach is based on the tactical side of football. I tend to use the word kachung tuhu.
Meanwhile, preparations for the return of the much anticipated FOFA Drum Games is in high gear.
And the fans are an extraordinary extension of football. We're here to play for them. I want them to come in big numbers and support us and give us that 12th man that we need. Because the players are training very hard, they're trying very hard, and I believe they will do well.
FOFA Drum is an inter-provinces football competition introduced by FOFA in 2018 to take the game to the masses based on the 16 provinces in Uganda. Eddie Olua, UBC News.
All right, now with that, we do come to the end of this newscast. Well, it is a weekend, and a very cold weekend at that, so that means many of Ugandans might be indoors, which is a much safer way to go. But don't worry, UBC television will keep you not only warm, but also entertained. I'm Lauryn Masika Kazimoto. I'm wishing you a lovely night. Until again, good night.
It's Freaky Friday from Airtel. Buy or gift. Buy or give.
Get freaky too! Dial *149 *10 hash to load a Freaky Friday bundle for you to enjoy the best offers on voice and data.
To buy a bundle for friends and family, dial *149 *10 *5 hash. Freaky Friday with Airtel. Buy or gift a bundle today.